Hi everyone, it's been a while. I haven't commented on South Africa, on anything really of note, and some of the stuff I would want to comment on that are done in our culture. I can't comment on other cultures, I don't live in them. They are too close to home, and I'm not in the mood to have anybody shooting bullets at me for speaking the truth. So some things I just have to keep inside, It's almost like when you're getting married and you, the bride, don't believe in this whole bride price thing, but everyone else around you does, and so everyone else will view you like a disobedient little child, and they'll forever hold that grudge against you for speaking out against it. It's that sometimes, unfortunately, family pressure is more drama, gives more drama, provides more drama than speaking your truth. So yeah, some things I'm going to hold back on. I will say that I hope that with the new government that is not fully the ANC, which was the party led by Nelson Mandela, I hope that they'll be more amenable and they'll be gentle towards homeschooling parents. And I hope that someone will consider special needs children. I don't know how, I don't know where the money will come from. We are a poor country, and that would take a long time to do. But I'm struggling. I'm really struggling, and I can't see a way out except for school. And with both my children going to university next year, there is absolutely no way I can do school. And there's nobody who's out there just saying, I will take your children for free. So I'm stuck, and yeah, I need the government to really please provide safe schools or provide aids to be with our children. Provide something, please. Lots of us are struggling. We can't do this on our own, not without sacrificing other necessities. And medication is a necessity. So I'm stuck, and I'm feeling it big time, and I felt it at my father's funeral. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. My father died last week. In the children's story, I said he died on Monday, but he actually died on Tuesday. My father, I'm going to be honest, I was asked to speak at his funeral, and I couldn't, because I will speak all truth or no truth. I will never want to paint a false portrait of someone. I don't want to give people the wrong impression of who my dad was, and in my silence over certain things, people will get the wrong picture of what kind of childhood I had and what kind of adulthood I've had, and I didn't want that. So I said no, I can't speak, because what happens is when we speak reality and speak truth, then we also get criticized. We're not allowed to speak the truth, and we get bombarded with negative messages for speaking the truth. So I just thought I'd rather just not speak at all. But I did sing. This is the last bit of the singing that I did. And once again the scene was changed, new earth there seemed to be. I saw the holy cities beside the tideless sea. The light of God was on its streets, its gates were open wide, and all who would might enter, and no one was denied. No need of food, no stars by night, no sun father. My childhood was interesting. It was full of yelling and beatings and whippings. I laughed. My brother said that he was beaten more than his younger brother with a cane. I think he said they call it smolekis, something like that. And he said we escaped. And as I said, no, we actually didn't. I told him, he was standing up front, like, no, we actually didn't. We also were beaten by the cane. Obviously, he wouldn't know because he didn't live with us. And it's not like I go around telling people, you know what? My dad used to beat me with a cane until I was in my almost middle teens. It's not something I go around saying. It was so normal to us that it's not something that jumps out in conversation. You know, big brother, my dad used to beat me and sometimes I'd have welts. It just never came up. So yes, we were beaten, my sister and I. And that is part of my upbringing. And it forms a big part of my upbringing because it wasn't happening in my friends' lives. I don't know what kind of friendship circle my siblings, my brothers were in, but for me and the people I was with, the friends I made, the mothers I hung out with, the families I experienced, it was very different to what my dad was like. The whippings, the wanting things that are not necessary, wanting things done a specific way. Even if you do it right, it has to be done right, his right way. I can't explain it, but it was not logical. It wasn't necessary. The things he wanted done were not necessary, and we were still children. So even if we made childish mistakes, even if we were not rebellious, I was never rebellious. I never said to myself, Dad said I must not touch this, but I will touch it anyway. So I never did that. So I was beaten for things that were not worthy of any kind of punishment. It was just a child being a child. So I will not forget that. I'll not forget those unjust beatings. I will not forget the day I even told my sister to run and I'll protect her, to just go. So that is a big part of my childhood. And the yelling. I can't stand yelling and anger and temper and accusations flying. That's what I grew up with. My friends' parents weren't like that. In my presence, at least. I mean, I've seen other people who are like that in my presence, so maybe they weren't like that in reality. So that's what I grew up with. Contention, argument, anger. That's what I grew up with. I never saw a really healthy marriage. They stayed together, yes, but they weren't happily in love. Like, believe me, anybody who spent time with them would know they were not happily in love. They didn't have this, there was no romance anymore. Yeah, that's just how they were. I mean, black people in general don't really have romance anyway. Let me be quick to say that. It's not like I ever saw other couples be romantic. But my friend, my best friend, she once walked into her grandparents' bedroom looking for toothpaste, only to discover that at 90 years old and 87, they were being intimate. Like, intimate. 90 years old and 87 years old. Whereas since I was 10, my parents slept in different rooms and there was no visiting each other. So it was different. It was different. It's not wrong, but it was different to what I experienced in other families. I can't ever say what issues they had with each other. But I will say this. If you are watching and you know that my father was buried on top of his late wife in the same grave, I have no problem with it. But that's okay. I don't care. For me, it's just a bunch of bones. It is a bunch of bones waiting for Christ to come again and blow the trumpet and there be a resurrection. Because we believe in the resurrection that Thessalonians talks about. So for us, our people are dead. As Ecclesiastes says, 9 verse 5, they don't know anything. They're just lying in a grave, sleeping. So I don't care where he's sleeping, as long as I'm happy. I am happy that my father is sleeping. I will miss the positive aspects. There were positive aspects also. But I'm not going to hide the fact that there were many negative aspects. So much so that I told my friend who came to care for my parents, I told her that, I got married on Freedom Day, April 27, 2003, because I finally felt free. I couldn't wait to escape. I couldn't wait. It was toxic. It was toxic. So my friend lived with them for 6 weeks, and she said, after like 2 weeks, she said, I can see now why you wanted to leave. So it's deep, but I can't say, like with my mom, I can tell you, she said I was ugly. She said I had bad lips. She said my forehead was too big. I can say it, but for my dad, I think it was an absence. When I was growing up, when I was a baby, he was tender and cute, kind and loving. He was my mom. My dad was my mommy when I was a child. I would dance, he would dance. Well, it was more like, when little children are standing on their daddy's feet face to face, and they're standing on daddy's feet, 1 foot on each foot, and holding daddy, and daddy is moving them across. That's what I remember of my childhood. My dad in Sesotho saying, Hada moki hadileng ding, helele. He played with me. He sang me lullabies. When I couldn't sleep, or if I was crying too much or whatever, he would sing lullabies. Thandi robala ma untimile ditsebe tsangu utla pepi wa ke mang ma untimile ditsebe tsangu thandi robala. I don't actually know what the song is about. It says that my mother didn't give me, or she denied me, sheep's ears. I don't know what I would have done with the sheep's ears, but that was the little lullaby. So I grew up with that. He was the one who, when he walked into hospital, he'd always scoop me up from the hospital bed. My dad was a daddy when I was a child, but something flipped and changed, and I had no parent. There's something the neighbor said, which I forgot to tell my friend. So here it is, friend. The neighbor said that whenever he would look over the wall, he would notice that it was my dad who was doing this, doing that, cleaning windows or cooking or baking. It was my dad. It was my dad. Yes, he beat us unjustly, often, hard. And that warmth was gone. But he was the mom the traditional mom who cooks. He was the cook. He made us breakfast. He made fried chips on special breakfast Sundays with fried eggs. Okay, not very healthy, but it was like, wow. He's putting effort into it. Handmade fried chips and amakwenya, like fit cook. There's no real American version of it. It's like fried dough. He made that for us. He put a lot of effort into the porridge as well, into fermenting the porridge for sour porridge. My dad made the porridge, and when I was around 13, I then also started cooking. My mom wasn't a cook, but she also wasn't warm. But we're not talking about my mom, we're talking about my dad. So my dad was mom in that sense also. He was the cook, the baker. He made delicious scones and muffins. Yeah, he did. He was really good at that. And he made his own bread. My dad made his own bread from start to finish, from scratch to finish. Steamed bread. He made dumplings. My dad made good fish. And then I took over the fish. He said my fish was good too. So, he was good. I just never got any positive validation over anything. I think that's it. There was a lack of, I see you, my child. I see that you're doing your best. I appreciate that you're not wild. It was just like, I'm just there. No, not praise, but no positive encouragement. That's what I wish I could have had. No, I love you, definitely not. But I knew he loved me. I knew he loved me for a long time, until things went wrong near the end of his life. Yes, I know he beat me a lot, but that's the generation he grew up in. So I knew he loved me until the end, the last few years. That's when I now actually felt like, okay, my dad doesn't love me. He is now lying to people about me. He's not telling them the things I'm doing for him, for his comfort, for him to have electricity in the house, for him to have food. That guys, is my enduring, or the last thought. For years, the last few years, my dad forgot how to love me. Not that he forgot to love everybody, but he had a special child out of the four of us, and all his love, all his attention, all his care, all his concern was lavished on that golden child. And the rest of us became scapegoats. And if you have studied anything about narcissistic parents, you know how isolating it is to be a scapegoat, because they will look good. That's the thing, they look good to other people, they look like a good pastor, etc. Though of course my dad butted heads with a lot of people, so they knew he was hard-headed. They knew he will not change his mind even if his mind is actually wrong. But they were not there when we would meet with my dad and say, you need help, you're not being cared for the way you should be, and he'd say no. That unfortunately is the enduring relationship I had with my dad, where it was, when he used to phone, it was bring this, bring that, bring this, bring that, bring milk, bring bread, bring this, even though I've just dropped food off a week before, which was meant to last a month, even though I've bought electricity, even though I've bought gas for the heater. It was never enough. For the first few years of my parents' retirement, my dad would be thankful, and it stopped. He became demanding, and he was never actually diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's. And also we did send social workers, and they deemed him actually compos mentis. It's not like he had lapses, like he didn't have the stereotypical dementia signs. His memory was still quite good actually, even for a 90-plus-year-old. So I will never blame it on dementia. And this part I will say, Black people, stop giving Black people, old people, a pass. Stop saying, oh, you must forgive him, he's old. Whether he's old or young or middle-aged, when you said something cruel, it is cruel. It still stings. It doesn't take the sting away. And age is no excuse for stinging people or shooting bullets at them. So honestly, that is the truth. I suffered a lot. There was a year where my husband even went to my parents and said, do you realize you don't love your daughter? Do you realize that you cause her a lot of pain? And do you realize that through your lies and manipulation of other people, you are painting the total opposite picture of who she is, and now other people who believe you are abusing her because of you, when you know how much she loves you. That is one of the last real deep conversations my husband had with my family, with my parents. My dad said he would phone me and apologize. He never did. So yeah, that is my reality. My parents were human. They were flawed. They didn't want to be unflawed. Some people try and they're like, I have the moms who say, I wish I didn't have a temper. I wish I didn't yell at my child. That's not my dad. My dad was fine with yelling at everybody. Believe me, everybody. So that's who he was. Everyone knows that. And as my brother said at the funeral, the way he was to others, that's how he was to us as well. And it tore my heart apart. I can't speak for them. That he turned down proper care and comfort. He deserved better. He deserved comfort. He deserved to be pampered in his old age. His aching bones, people needed to be on the ball with his medication. We had a bone scan done on him in 2015. He had arthritis everywhere. Like everywhere I have arthritis, he had it, and he was suffering. But we were not able to get him medicated the way he should be. There was no one to make sure he takes the medication. It was painful. It was painful to see him choosing to suffer and to say, no, I don't need a caregiver. I'm not a baby. I'm not a baby. It's not like he said, no, my children, I appreciate your concern. But it was harsh. It was harsh. And that is it. My children, all they remember is Grandpa always told us your parents shouldn't be homeschooling you. You shouldn't be doing that. Or my Amarissa, my 9-year-old, what she remembers of Grandpa is when she took a bottle, a glass, she asked, well, he said, bring me water to my girl. So she went and got a glass of water. Then he said, no, what's wrong? Why didn't you bring a straw? How would we know that she needs a straw with water? So she went back to the kitchen to get a straw. No, this is not cold. I must get water from the fridge. That is what my 9-year-old remembers of her grandfather. And he's the last grandfather she had. And I can't not get over it, but I can't gloss over that either. You mess with my children, you're messing with me. That becomes part of my memory of you and my fiber. It's part of me. My children are part of me. So when they are bullied and dismissed and not, the last time they visited my dad, my son, my dad had been in the bedroom and he decided, no, he wants to come out to the front. And my children went, and as he was walking, his trousers were falling. So my son, my sweet boy, doesn't hurt anybody. He helps his dad, his grandpa, my dad, fix his pants, and then the belt was broken, so my husband also chipped in. And my dad, instead of saying, thank you, my boy, thank you, I'm glad you were here, he says, if Golden Child was here, she would be doing this. And the whole visit, he just spoke about how Golden Child was. They came back after going to visit Grandpa, and they said, Mom, Grandpa just kept talking about Golden Child. That's all it was about. It was just Golden Child. He didn't ask, how are they? What are their hopes and dreams? What grade are they in? What do they hope to do after they finish high school? There was no conversation. And that hurt. Other things happened that were worse. Accusations of things that Golden Child does that were now being hurled at our children. So those are the memories my children have. And I'm sad for them. And it's sad because they say grandparents love their grandchildren more than they love their children and will spoil them and over-treat them, over-spoil them, do anything they want. All he wanted was to sit and look at Grandpa, not be carried by Grandpa. And that was a sin. It was a wrong. So, yes, my dad was Mom. My dad was a great cook and baker. My dad provided for us as much as he could. My dad worked hard. If no one else will clean something, he will clean it himself. Even up to 90 plus years old, as you'll see in this photo. No, I won't actually show that photo. But yeah, that was my dad. And his last days could have been better, but they weren't. And that is a sorrow I will also take to my grave. The prayers he prayed for Golden Child to actually really become golden. Because he knew the flaws, that's the thing, he knew the flaws. But instead of being reprimanded, he wanted Golden Child to be patted on the back and told, don't you think it's time to stop this bad behavior? And it never happened. The behavior he used to ask us to pray for didn't stop. It never ended. He died with a broken heart. And like Rahadi, there was a viral video that went around South Africa where an aunt is Rahadi, stood up, and in her speech at the funeral, she said, during the speech, my brother, she was the sister of the dead man, my brother died with a broken heart because his wife was constantly cheating on him. Everyone went berserk, and the one young lady threw a full water bottle at her. So that's why I can't speak the real truth about what my father's life was really like. And also, unfortunately, he chose it also. He chose it, so he chose to suffer. He chose not to have someone who would be there for him, cook for him, always make sure he's comfortable, make sure he's bathed and everything. He chose it. And I wish it didn't hurt so much. I will always love my dad. and that's that. But where my father was buried on top of his late first wife is okay with me. Because firstly, we believe in the resurrection, as I said, and secondly, my mother herself used to say, bury him with his first wife. My hope, guys, I really hope that maybe there was something wrong in my brain, my dad's brain. Like something organic, something physiological to explain how he mistreated us scapegoats who were trying to help him. Basically, I wish I could be in heaven with my dad, and I hope his first wife will be in heaven too. I'd love to hear their love story, what drew them to each other, what they loved about each other. She had a beautiful face. I'd never seen a picture of her until I was organizing the slideshow, and their son sent me pictures, family pictures, and she was there. She looked just sweet, humble, elegant. And I hear she was the only one who could control my dad when he's having his outbursts. Not by yelling him, meeting him head to head or toe to toe. She would just say, Ben, and look at him with a particular expression in her eyes. Then my dad would calm down. Though I might not have been born, or I wouldn't be me, or I wouldn't exist, I don't know how it would be. I wish she hadn't died. Maybe things wouldn't have ended the way they ended. But it didn't happen like that. And so I will determine to be the mother I have been forever. I will not allow age to make me cantankerous, to make me harsh, to make me unloving to any of my children. That is what my hope is. That is what I've learned. That's it, people. I have no more parents. My dad was beautiful as a young man. His first bride was also beautiful. They were cute. I wish they'd had many more years together. But such is life. They didn't. And so I will end here. I have no more father. We buried him this past Sunday. And at the end of the day, it's relief. It's relief. He is truly resting.
Good,